Hello, everyone. Let me just get this ready here, full screen. Okay, so my name is Rick Lagnese, and I'm the PR and Comms Director for MADFINGER Games, and I'm happy to be a part of the gaming event, even though I'm not live. And I do apologize. I'm actually in a hotel right now trying to make a recording because I really wanted to talk about putting the comms back into communication. And so, even though this is recorded, I sure hope that there's the chance of maybe you can even email me afterwards, rick@madfingergames.com, if you have any questions. I think today, especially in the gaming industry, communication is kind of like when you're you're looking for example, a supplement at the grocery store, and you see there's so many different brands, and one brand contains an extra ingredient. If you're really trying to look into it, like, what's that? And you just want to get that supplement. So it causes more confusion, which is the best option. This is what happens with communication today. We have a problem. And the problem is that there's so many ways to communicate that who takes what serious anymore? Email becomes more of just filtering through spam and all that stuff. And then which ones do you want to click? Which ones have the right subject to grab your eyes? What if the people you're trying to contact, they don't really check their emails? But in the gaming industry, we have many options: socials, Discord. What's the best way to communicate? So that's one of the dilemmas we have, is when you have an abundance, of those supplements I was mentioning. How do you narrow it down, and how do you break the barriers? A few things we're going to talk about today is, first off, and this is most important, is taking care of yourself. See, everything starts in your own personal life, because if you want to communicate effectively, it needs to be real. It needs to come with humility. It needs to come with authenticity. You have to be genuine, transparent. That you can't fake that. You can fake a smile. You can be good. You can try and manipulate. You can try and, fake your way as much as you can. But at the end of the day, you have an actual life. And that life hits when you have the thoughts going through your head, time to think. And a lot of times we're scared of that. But I want to go into more of how to take care of yourself so it helps better portray the person you are, to be yourself, and to communicate with those you want to effectively. And that leads into the effective communication. And then where? The more practical aspect of, in the gaming industry, where do we want to communicate, and how? So I'm going to have to move my circle around, as I tend to get in the way of the presentation. Okay. So first, about me, and I won't try and take too long about it. Excuse me, spend too much time on this. I've been married for 22 plus years and counting. I have 5 kids, 4 girls and a boy. They range from 9 to 18 years old. And, whenever I tend to talk about myself, for me personally, I absolutely do not like just going right into my work. It is not who I am at all. In fact, even as much as I love my job, it's nothing in comparison to who I am as a person and my family. And so when you want to talk about and communicate, I think it's important to go back to the basics. Automations, emails, blah 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 blah. Let people get to know about you. So that's what I'm talking about right now. Being married for 22 years has taught me a lot about relations and communication. Being married to my wonderful wife, and she's a stay-home mother. She's always home with the kids, teaching the kids. Meanwhile, for most of our marriage, I've been fortunate to work from home. But sometimes it's almost like I'm not there. I spend so much time in the office. Or there was times where I would, when I was working selling wireless services, being away from the family. But she's always there with them. And so you learn a little bit about communication if you want to be a good husband and father. Working with 4 girls, from a father's perspective, that's not easy. Plus, I have my one son, of course. This picture is not the most up-to-date, but it's good enough. It has us all in there. We don't take a ton of pictures as is, but you think we would. But anyway, everything starts at the home. So if I can have a good base, which, for lack of better words, with my family, it helps me more to put that comms back into the communication. Speaking of, and okay, so what about my work? More into my work history and whatnot. I've had 8 years in the gaming industry so far, both on the dev and creator side. So for me, from the development standpoint and my job, being PR, as you can see, and comms director for MADFINGER Games, well, to me, it's all about working and building strategies for communicating with creators, influencers, and also communicating with press and the fans, of course. And me in the work in this field has helped a lot from my 20 plus years in sales and various things that I sold, learning how to work with people. And I realized in 20 years that working with people is what, and how to work with people and how to communicate. That translates to sales more than the product itself. I'm telling you, it's the most important thing that you can keep in your mind is that you yourself, your persona will help sell the product because you care. So right now we're currently working on Gray Zone Warfare. It is top 30 most wish listed in the world. We are a small indie studio, about 70 guys and gals, for, I would say, small when thinking about the scope of Gray Zone Warfare. I'm not going to get into the game much, just that it's a tactical FPS, open world, realistic game. And working in the gaming industry is certainly not easy. It's not easy because we've been so filled with games. We're saturated. And when people always, talk about a drought, it blows my mind because I don't know about you guys, but I have a backlog of probably 50 good games, like really good games. But because it's so saturated and because there's news, because of social media, there's stuff in front of your face every single day. And so when people are not used to getting news that, updates, whatnot, people, and I'm throwing myself in there, we can get impatient, we can react emotionally. So in terms of communication, it's really important to take it all in, to realize the industry we're in, the entertainment industry, and how to be understanding of even where someone's coming from, when to respond, when not to respond, how. But what I'm going to get into, I think more so, is probably going to be how I communicate with creators, because it's been the biggest way that we've promoted Gray Zone Warfare. And as an indie studio, we don't have a sponsored budget. We are putting every dollar we can into marketing, into the game. So that would be something, every dollar into marketing, but every penny that we have, we're trying to put it back into the game. And so for me, knowing that this is the situation and we haven't sold any copies of the game yet because early access is the first quarter, is what we're targeting. That's always something too. Who knows? But the point is that you have to work really closely with the creators and you have to try and constantly get in their head. Same thing, and then again, this goes for press and fans and what they're thinking. I'm going on a little bit of a tangent now, so let's just get more into it, shall we? First, I also wanted to show some testimonials just to show you that what we're doing is working as a team, and even as my position. Tom says, you're doing a, we'll say darn fine job with frequent updates, making creators feel like a part of the build up to launch, which makes me hopeful that the game is going to be great for content. He thanks for the level of communication that is unprecedented in the industry. And man, and saying thanks for all you're doing, that means a lot. I share that with the team. The team needs to hear this because there's so much pressure. The pressure comes from wanting to have a game that meets the fans' expectations. So when you hear things like that, it reminds us of what we do on the marketing side. I'm not going to play the video with what Big Fry here, but basically what he says about, and I had to take the quotes from the video. He says in this video he made based on our game, he says, these guys are reaching out and doing a lot of behind the scenes conversations with a lot of tactical content creators in the space, from large channels to small. These guys are talking to everybody. And he's right. One of the things that I do that's so important, and I'm going to get more to the practical as we go on here, is talking. It's talking to people. not just an email, a DM, or a text. It's actually talking to creators who are showing interest. Now, I'm not perfect at this. We get a lot of requests, and there's no way to keep up with all the messages and emails that come in. But we are working with creators from big to small. And it's true in the industry. You'd be a liar to say you don't show partiality if you have someone who's a bigger creator, a big engagement, and interested in your game because you're looking for engagement. But when you have even the smaller creators that are really like just making videos, they're not like, hey, I'd like to have a code. They're actually not even waiting. They're making news updates. They're making, content. That gets my attention. And so we reach out to them, and then I like to talk to them. Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to use your personal cell phone number, but talk to them. That you can even use Twitter now, for crying out loud, or X to make phone calls. Or if you like to use WhatsApp, for me, I do a lot of Discord calls. Sometimes Google Meet, and I show myself on camera. You don't have to do that, by the way. I would say most of the calls I don't, because it's just a simple call, just like you're calling somebody. To see if I can take more quotes. From a community engagement perspective, these guys have it on lock. These guys are effing awesome. I'm not going to lie, when I watched this video, it even brought some tears. It doesn't normally happen. In fact, I've never had a video where I've been even brought to tears realizing the work we're doing, except for that one video. And then you have Ghost here, and big TikTok guy, but he says, the communication that Gray Zone Warfare is giving us is unlike any other game studio. So I wanted to go back to something about how this works again, and I'm going to just take a quick step back and say that you matter. Okay? You matter. Take some time for prayer and meditation, getting alone. Take some time to spend with your family and friends. Touch the grass. I'm telling you, I've been putting in so many hours these days. That's why I have to do a recording, that I have to go out and touch the grass. Remember that I am a living being and enjoy this creation of this world. And if you don't take the time out for yourself, then you're not living up to your full potential, because you may even be doing good for a while, but you'll burn out. And you can't burn out in this industry. And because if you burn out, it doesn't necessarily stop. You think, oh man, when we get to this mark or hit this quota or hit this goal, you can rest a little bit. And all of a sudden there's another topic, task, agenda that you have to do. Or when the game releases, you can breathe. It's hard to do that. And it's this constant flow. And especially with our game as a service, we're going to be making updates, and there's going to be patches and balances. So there's going to be a lot of communication. But you have to know that you matter. If you want to have not just good communication, but even for yourself, a healthy balance, take time out. If you wake up and the first thing you're doing in the morning is checking your emails, your texts, your DMs, heck, maybe you're in a different time zone, so you're working with a company that's hours ahead, and you're checking because you know they've already started working, and you're checking their messages, and you feel like, I need to keep up. If you start immediately doing that, you're starting your day and instantly going right into busy mode. And I'm telling you, I'm giving you these scenarios. I work in the US remotely. My company is in Brno, Czech Republic, and they're 6 hours ahead. When I start immediately looking at my phone and checking messages, I'm not saying that it ruins the whole day, but I'm not starting the day accordingly. But when I wake up and I'm thankful, and for me, when I'm thanking God, I'm appreciative of my family. I can get up and have tea with my wife and do things like that. And if you have to, get up earlier. Go to bed. Take it. You matter. This is the whole point. If you want to communicate effectively, you need to take care of yourself first. That's not a bad thing. It's why I love something that Jesus said when he said, love your neighbor as yourself. If you want to take care of your neighbor, which is everybody, you got to take care of yourself. So touch the grass, spend time with your family and friends, get alone. It's going to help effectively in your communication. Let's keep going. All right. The basics of effective communication. Sorry for moving the circle. Clarity and precision. So understanding the importance of clear and precise messaging is just transparency. Just being honest. If you want to be clear, be clear. Now, truth be told, in the gaming industry, especially on the PR and marketing side, a lot of times we're using the word soon. Well, that can mean a lot of things. But when it comes to things you want to communicate to somebody in general, whether it's a community, again, PR, press, the best thing to do is to be transparent, even if you feel like you messed up, if you feel like you gave the wrong message, if you have to retract something. It's okay to do those things, right? And it's okay to do that in terms of being honest when you know you should. This it's that intuition in you. When you get that gut check and you're like, I should communicate this, but then sometimes we're working on, and this is just if anyone's being honest, if you make a mistake, your ego and one part of your brain is saying, how can you do something without trying to act like you made a mistake, rather than just admitting the mistake and moving on, just being transparent. I'm telling you, being transparent saves you time and hassle, and integrity is everything. Just be clear. Be yourself. Don't use GPT for some PR response. Just be yourself. And on a side note, I use ChatGPT. I welcome it. You just got to have a balance, and you got to be authentic and real. Active listening. This is something that my wife reminds me of all the time. Active listening is incredibly important, because if you're just thinking about the next thing you're going to say all the time, you're not going to be listening good enough. You're not. And or how about if you're talking to someone and you're literally looking at your phone, which is what I've done many times, and I'm doing it when my wife is talking to me, and it's obvious you're not spending the time giving your children or whoever may be 100%. It doesn't matter if they can see you or not. 99 times out of 100 for me, maybe not 99 times, 90 times out of 100, we'll say, when I'm looking at my phone and someone's talking to me, how is that active listening? Don't pretend you are, because you're not. So active listening is important. We had a rule in sales of the 80-20 method, listening 80% of the time and talking 20. I'll be honest, I rarely hit that, to be very frank. But even if you start reducing the amount of time of talking just a little bit more in overtime and really think about what they're saying, you're not just going to learn how to sympathize. That's easy. You're going to learn how to empathize and hopefully show compassion. And this is the key: talking over typing. Listen, in any form of communication, if you take the time out to talk to somebody, again, you don't have to have a video call, but if you just take the time out to do a video call, but you're not showing your face, you're taking this time out for somebody. And sometimes that will save you time over these really long emails, DMs, messages, and not taking things out of context. Talking to people. This is part of the success for us with MADFINGER Games. Is I've been taking the time out to talk to creators big and small on the phone, as I mentioned before, and they're not used to it. Now, for me personally, I don't care to give out my number to some of these guys, gals. It's fine. It's no big deal. But when we're taking the time to connect that way, you build bigger and better bonds. It doesn't mean you have to have all these personal relationships with everyone. You can keep it business, but you have to have a personal touch. Okay? You have to. Listen, I get automated messages and swapping out names and stuff like that. I'm not saying there's no place for that, but you really need to find the personal touch. And even more than your emails and messages, you need to do it with your voice. Excuse me. Talking is going to always be the very best form of communication. If you are more of a texter and you say that's just who you are, don't identify with that. I'm not saying that you have to talk to every single person or every single creator or every single press out there in the world or whatever. You'll never be able to do that. I'm just saying, take the time out. Even with your ego, check your ego at the door and take the time out to talk to a few extra people a day. Start with 1, then 5, maybe keep it at 5, maybe 10. You have your own goals. It's not all the same as everybody else. So everyone's going to work differently, and everyone's going to talk to people in different ways, different forms. But there's nothing greater than voice. Okay, so when building strong relationships, again, I'm not perfect at this. I can only go off of what I've learned and the relationships that I have built strongly. There are some that I've messed up. I'm not like, again, this just the only expert here or whatever. There's many people that are good at communicating, but I would say in general that if I may be honest, I think as a society most people are not, because of what it's become. Everyone can sympathize, You're just acknowledging their presence or their voice, and that's not a bad thing. But it's really easy to say, be honest. Thoughts and prayers. I stand with blah 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 blah. You can say all you want, but sympathy is a way of what I call just being nice. Again, there's a place for that, but if you stop there, we can never mature in relationships that way. You can't just say, "Hey, have a great day" all the time, and or just talk about the weather. Sympathizing is just the basics of how you work your way into empathy, and let's talk about that. Empathy is understanding their point of view and finding a way to relate to them. I have to do this all the time when I'm trying to understand um, if fans want to see something that we're working on, or they're maybe don't like a direction we're going in, or there's creators that feel like they're not getting enough attention from me. I have to understand their point of view, that they're trying to effectively communicate with me the best way they know how. Excuse me. And here I am, I'm busy, this, that, I can say all this. I can make up all these reasons why I'm not able to talk to them, but I really need to try and think from their perspective. Again, I'm not perfect at this. I'm saying this is what has been working for me. Empathy goes a lot farther, because when you start to understand someone else's perspective, you're going to do a much better job when you communicate, and they're going to know it and they're going to feel it. Okay? That's when you don't just say thoughts and prayers. You now take the time to talk to them about their situation. Okay? How about this one? Instead of saying prayers, how about you actually pray with them? Instead of saying my thoughts with you, how about you just listen and see what they have to say? How about saying, I just stand with somebody, that you actually go and do it? You don't stand unless you do. And that's what compassion is. Compassion is how can you actually now help them? What actions are we taking to help alleviate that person's stress, discomfort? Now, I'm not going to take this into another direction um, of just talking about the psyche and this and that, but it all encompasses building strong relationships. So, in turn, when you actually show compassion, you're taking the extra time out and giving other people a chance that they haven't had. Now, we have Gray Zone Warfare. We have a VIP group that's well known at this point, and we have creators in there big and small. Now, if I have someone that has millions of subscribers and they're a fan of the genre of our game, you better bet I'm going to prioritize some of them. But when you have those who are already making content that you never reached out to, you don't know who they are, and then you actually want to help them and talk to them, they're helping promote your game. Acknowledgement is everything. I love going onto YouTube and even responding to some of the creators. They're floored when our team does that. So it's taking the time out to acknowledge them, right? And I guess this isn't so much just the compassion part, but I would say the compassion part then is taking the steps to work with some of them that might even take a little extra work on my behalf. But the reason why I'm willing to do it and how I can help them, the truth is because they're helping us, and they're taking the time to. They've never asked for anything, and they're making content. And in terms of communicating, when it comes to even on emails and whatnot, when it comes the hard part with the compassion aspect is it's really hard to show that in just an email. But when you do message someone, especially if you want it to be impactful, have some weight to it. I don't have the best example right now to show you on screen, but it's to have an action plan or a call to action in the email, not just fluff. The fluff is usually just the sympathetics, which again, I'm not saying that's all bad. It seems like I'm really knocking just being sympathetic. It's just that it can't just stop there. If you want to build strong relationships, here's the thing. Let's be real. You don't have to build strong relationships with everybody. But if you want to build strong relationships with people, you need to be sympathetic. Then you got to turn that quickly into being empathetic. You got to be compassionate. You got to take action. That's what compassion is taking action. And we're moving the circle again. So this is a more practical, and this is very simple when it comes to the right channels. So for me in the gaming industry, people use everything. I didn't even put like Instagram on there, of course, TikTok. But you want to message them where they're most active if you're really trying to get a hold of anyone in the industry. Again, it's not just creators, even developers, press. And, when doing this, it might be a little easier on my side because I come with the weight of a game and saying, hey, I'd love to connect with you and talk to you about Gray Zone Warfare. Call to action is like actually like, hey, let's talk. The action's like talk, set up a call, boom. And it's happening. But if you're having a hard time reaching out to somebody, I'm telling you, I'd rather try messaging them in different ways than messaging them once and stopping thinking you're going to bother them. Because in this day and age, you need to push a little bit and you can't be afraid to do it. So I don't even put email as the first option. Yeah, I do email. But so many people today, they don't like checking their emails. They have hundreds of them, so I find them on Twitter. If their DMs are open, I'm going to message them. If I'm able to message them on Discord. Now, there is a balance, and you need to know the balance, especially if someone responds in a way that you need to have a little bit of discretion and discernment to lay off. But you need to be persistent, and you need to keep trying. You can't give up. So I will, and if I'm trying to get a hold of somebody, just try different channels. Find out where someone's most active. Again, I'm being vague here, but for me to give examples, again, if I have a creator and I want to get a hold of them, I'll find out, maybe I see them on YouTube. They make a video about our game. So I'm looking at their info and seeing what channels. Usually creators will link their other channels. Find them on Twitter. Okay, maybe their DMs aren't open, but I can find their email that's put on their Twitter profile or YouTube. So you got to do your homework. Now, with that being said, I think let me just actually go over here to the next step, which is choosing a social funnel. Okay. What I want to say about this is when you message them directly, it avoids all these notifications and it skips past the nonsense. So what I like to do is I like to maybe choosing a social funnel could have been worded better. But when I actually get people, when I'm communicating with them, I then try and funnel them all into Discord for me. It's again, it's gaming industry, Discord. Almost everyone has a Discord. So what I do is when I'm actually sending out new content, I'm emailing them at this point. I do have their emails, but then I hit them up on Discord saying, hey, just dropped you some new Gray Zone Warfare content. Guys, that's how we've been getting the feedback we have because people don't check their emails. They don't just check Discord announcements because they're on our Discord, most of them already. I ping them. And they always thank me for it. I'm not saying I've never bothered anyone, but you want to make sure if you send an email, if you want to get in touch with somebody and you're trying to get, now you've done your part, right? So you've actually done your part. You have 100, 200, 300, 1,000 people. Now 1,000 is a little difficult, but usually I communicate with 200, 300 people. Yes, I'm taking the time out to message most of them on Discord. To those I know that aren't getting their emails or checking them enough, I'm letting them know that I sent them new information. So pinging them, that's what I wanted to say is funneling them in to one place. So you can just, at that point, that I actually literally do copy, hey, new Gray Zone Warfare update, man. Or hey, new Gray Zone Warfare update. Check your email. Or new announcement on Discord. Check the Discord announcement. And then I put the link to it. Or maybe I tell them a little bit what that email is about, right? So the pinging, because when you ping someone on Discord, a lot of, well, at least the creators I work with, or even the press, they don't have everyone on Discord. So I really like to do that because that's kind of how I really get the message across. So again, the first part was trying to message someone to find them, track them down. But when you are in touch with somebody, find the best way that you'd like to funnel them in so you can kind of almost coach them into how you'd like to talk to them. And I'm not saying like forcing them, but I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to message you on Discord when I have another announcement. So they're ready. And I'm telling you that our conversion rate for checking the content is high because I take the extra time to message them individually. It takes more time, but it's worth it. And it's absolutely necessary. I'm going to end it with this. The power of verbal communication. It's strong in building these relationships and fostering them over time because you no longer have to worry about just someone's tone or context. right? You're actually verbally communicating with them. You're having a good time being able to just build that relationship. But even when you can't do that, find ways to reach them directly, not just through email. Find out their best social platforms. But number one, and I'm going to go back to this, I know we need to end because I'm at that 30-minute mark. Take care of yourself. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to step away from your work. You take that time to meditate and pray. You take that time to spend time with your friends and family. You get outside bare feet on the grass when you can. You take care of yourself. You take the time out and you relax. You find more of that who you are from inside, not outside, but inside. And it'll show you how to better and more effectively communicate. You'll be more confident in yourself and even verbally communicating. And you'll breed success, not because of just numbers, but because of the relationships you build. That is just a taste of how you put the comms back into communication. Again, I'm Rick Lagnese, PR and Comms Director for MADFINGER Games. If you have any questions, email me, rick@madfingergames.com. Thanks and God bless.